All right, this is Numbers 32 in the MacArthur Study Bible. Let's begin with a refresher of 31. Basically, God had the Israelites go take out the Midianites in judgment for causing Israel to sin in Numbers 25. And of course, Balaam gave the women counsel to seduce the Israelite men to sin, and so Balaam, of course, was taken out. Yep. And then they returned from war with, the spoil and all that, and they left some, women alive and all that. But, of course, Moses wasn't happy, and you need to take out the males among the little ones, and a woman who has known a man intimately, but you can keep the virgin women alive. And then stay outside the camp for 7 days and purify yourselves and your garments and all that. And then after 7 days, you can come back in. And then all the plunder that they had, all the spoil that was to be divided up, half would go to the Israelites, and then the army, men in the army, they could get their half too. And then you had all the numbers accordingly of those divisions. And then a portion of what went to the people went to the Levites for them. Went to the Levites. And then, of course, some of the gold and other fine treasures, necklaces, and all that were used to make atonement as well. And that's pretty much what you had in Numbers 31. And now you get to Numbers 32. And there's no sections. There's only one section. It's just this whole chapter. So I'll just read the whole chapter and go through the notes. The tribes settling east of the Jordan. Let's begin. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of livestock when they saw the land of Jazer, and the land of Gilead, that indeed the region was a place for livestock. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke to Moses and to Eleazar the priest and to the leaders of the congregation, saying, Ataroth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Eliah, however you say that, and Shebam, and Nebo, and Beon, the country which the Lord defeated before the congregation of Israel, is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. And therefore they said, if we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants as a possession. Do not take us over the Jordan. And then Moses said to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, Shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Now why will you discourage the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? Thus your fathers did when I sent them away from Kadesh Barnea to see the land, from when they went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land. And they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, so that they did not go into the land with which the Lord had given them. And so the Lord's anger was aroused on that day, and he swore an oath, saying, Surely none of the men who came up from Egypt from 20 years old and above shall see the land which I swore to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me, except Caleb the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun, for they have wholly followed the Lord. And so the Lord's anger was aroused against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until all of that generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord was gone. And look, you have risen in your father's place, a brood of sinful men, to increase still more the fierce anger of the Lord against Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he will once again leave them in the wilderness, and you will destroy all of these people. And then they came near to him and said, We will build sheepfolds for our livestock and cities for our little ones, but we ourselves will be armed, ready to go before the children of Israel until we have brought them to their place, and our little ones will dwell in the fortified cities because of the inhabitants of the land. And we will not return to our homes until every one of the children of Israel has received his inheritance. For we will not inherit with them on the other side of the Jordan and beyond, because our inheritance has fallen to us on this eastern side of the Jordan. Then Moses said to them, If you do this thing, if you arm yourselves before the Lord for the war, and all of your armed men cross over the Jordan before the Lord until he has driven out his enemies beforehand, and this land is subdued before the Lord, then afterward you may return and be blameless before the Lord and before Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if you do not do so, then take note, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. Build cities for yourselves and little ones. Build cities for yourselves and for your little ones. There you go. And folds for your sheep, and do what has proceeded out of your mouth. Basically, keep your promise. Otherwise, your sin will find you out. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spoke to Moses, saying, Your servants will do as my Lord commands. Our little ones, our wives, our flocks, and all of our livestock will be in the cities of Gilead. But your servants will cross over, every man armed for war before the Lord to battle, just as my Lord says. And so Moses gave command concerning them to Eleazar the priest, and to Joshua the son of Nun, and to the chief fathers of the tribes of Israel. And Moses said to them, If the children of Gad and the children of Reuben cross over the Jordan with you, every man armed for battle before the Lord, and the land is subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead as a possession. But if they do not cross over armed with you, they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan. And then the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, As the Lord has said to your servants, so we will do. We will cross over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, but the possession of our inheritance shall remain with us on this side of the Jordan. And so Moses gave to the children of Gad and the children of Reuben, and to the half-tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og of Bashan, the land with its cities and with its borders, the cities surrounding the country. And the children of Gad built Dibon and Ataroth and Aroer, Aroer, it's hard to say that, or Auror, maybe that's how you say that. And Ataroth and Shaphan and Jazer and Jogabah, Beth Nimrah and Beth Haran, fortified cities and folds for sheep. And the children of Reuben built Heshbon and Elilah, however you say that, and Kirjatharim, however you say that, Nebo and Bel Meon, their names being changed, and Shibma, it's hard to say that. And they gave other names to the cities which they built. And the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, went to Gilead and took it, and disposed of the Amorites who were in it. So Moses gave Gilead to Machir, the son of Manasseh, and he dwelt in it. Also Jair, the son of Manasseh, went and took its small towns and called them Havoth Jair. And then Nobah went and took Kenath and its villages and called it Nobah after his own name. Okay. So, what do you got going on here? So basically, two of the tribes of Israel, the tribes of Reuben and Gad, basically want to settle east of the Jordan in the land of Gilead. Yeah, in the land of Gilead and of Jazer. Yeah, which basically on a map would be kind of like northern Jordan and I guess like southern Syria, kind of that area, I guess. Maybe a little bit of Iraq, I guess, also. Just some of that area in the Middle East, basically. Yep. And they saw that that place was a place for their livestock, so they wanted to settle in those areas. Yep. And so the children of Gad and of Reuben, they come to Moses and Eleazar the priest, basically, saying that they want to do that. And then here's how MacArthur summarized it. The tribes of Reuben and Gad desired to live in the land already conquered because they possessed much great livestock and the land was good for grazing. And this land that they desired was conquered in Numbers 21, as gets mentioned. Yeah, remember those kings, Og and Sihon? Yeah, whenever you had those battles in Numbers 21, well, it's in that land. Yeah, and these tribes want to settle in that land. Yep, and Moses would give them that land along with half of the tribe of Manasseh, portions of the land only on one condition, that they would fully participate in the conquest of Canaan. So that's what it's all about here. All right, now a little bit more specifically, even though that's what it's all about. So, of course, they want to settle east, and then they name, some cities here in that land. Yeah, Adaroth, Dibon, Jezer, some of these cities that are hard to pronounce, and then Beon. Now, we can't identify these places, but they all lie between the Arnon River to the south and the Jabbok River to the north. And I guess those two rivers, in a way, would be like boundaries, of this land that they would want in that general area in the Middle East. But basically, the children of Gad and Reuben, they tell Moses they want this land, we can have it. But then Moses is worried that what happened in Numbers 13 and 14, that led to the wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, he's worried that that's going to happen again. That by them wanting to get this land, it may discourage the other tribes from going into the land of Canaan, like what happened 40 years ago. Yeah, Moses feared that if these two tribes were comfortably settled in their land that they wanted, they would not join the other 10 tribes in conquering Canaan, and this could be the beginning of a general revolt against entering into the land. And as the 10 spies dissuaded the people at Kadesh 40 years earlier from conquering the land, the refusal of these tribes to help go into Canaan with the others, the refusal to do that, could cause the people to fail again, could cause the people to choose not to go in also. And you would just have the same disaster, happen all over again, where now this generation would be stuck in the wilderness as well. And you don't want to have that happen again. Nope. But Moses is worried about that basically from verses 6 through 15. He's worried about that. He doesn't want that to happen again. But then the people said that we're going to build sheepfolds for our livestock and cities for our little ones, but we ourselves ready to go before the children of Israel until we brought them to their place, and our little ones who dwell in the fortified cities because of the inhabitants of our land, and we're not going to return to our homes until every one of the children of Israel has received his inheritance. So basically, what they're saying is, no, we're not going to get comfortable and settle in. Yeah, we are going to go over with the other tribes. We're going to help them out. We're going to help them conquer the Canaanites. And then, of course, they're going to get the different portions of the land for each of the tribes and all that. They'll get their inheritances and all of that, and the different, and of course, the divisions and boundaries accordingly where they'll settle. Yeah, and then when all of that's finally done, then we'll go back to our land. We'll have our land, our inheritance on the east side of the Jordan. Okay. If you do this, Moses says, if you arm yourselves before the Lord, before the war, and all of your armed men will cross over the Jordan before the Lord until he's driven out his enemies before him, and the land is subdued before the Lord, and then afterwards, you may return and be blameless before the Lord and before Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. So go over, help the other Israelites, conquer the enemies, make sure the land is subdued before the Lord. They get settled in, they get their divisions and all that, and then you can go back home to your land. But if you don't go over and help them out, if you don't help them in the conquest, as you say that you're going to do, as you're promising to do before Moses and the Lord, you're promising to do that, but if you don't do it, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure that your sin will find you out. So basically, the two tribes, they committed themselves to provide their warriors for the conquest of the land, and this agreement satisfied Moses. And of course put Moses' fears to rest of a repeat of 13 and 14. And of course, that agreement, this agreement that the tribes would help out the other ones in the conquest, that satisfied Moses, although Moses did add that non-participation would be a sin. It would be sin. Yes, it's basically them breaking the promise. They're promising that they're going to go over and help the other tribes, but if they don't do it, it's a sin before them and before God, and be sure that that sin would find them out. That God would certainly find and judge the tribes for their sin if that ends up happening. And that's actually a familiar verse there at the end of verse 23. Be sure your sin will find you out. That's true, period. Not just in this scenario. That basically whatever sin you commit, it will ultimately find you out and you will be judged for it. And of course, ultimate judgment being hell for your sins, period. And so the only way, to escape that is to turn to Jesus Christ, basically. That way your sin ultimately doesn't find you out eternally. There you go. Okay. So they make that promise that they'll go and help the other tribes. But if they don't, then they'll be judged. But then the children of Gad and Reuben, they say that we're going to do it as the Lord command, as my Lord commands, as you commands, and of course as you command Moses, and of course as Yeah, God command ultimately that keep this promise. Yeah, the little ones, their children, their wives, flocks, all their livestock. Yeah, they'll be in the cities of Gilead. But of course, the men for war, probably the 20 years and over, as would be counted in the census in numbers. Yeah, those men of these tribes will go over and help the other ones. Yep. Yep. And so Moses gives the command to concerning them to Eleazar and to Joshua and to the other chiefs of the other uh, tribes of Israel. You have the other 10 tribes of Israel for 9.5. Yeah, yeah, that's half tribe of Manasseh, right? Yeah, so those others that will actually go into the land of Canaan and stay there. Yeah, just to let them know that that these guys they're gonna settle east, but they're still gonna come in to help you. Yep, but if they don't, then they will have possessions in your land, and of course, God will judge them. All right. And then again, people of Gad and Reuben said that we will do this. Yeah, we're going to cross over. We're going to help. Yeah, and we'll settle east of the Jordan. Yeah, we'll go back and settle in ultimately after that's all said and done. Yep, so they get that land where Sihon and Og were, but of course got defeated in Numbers 21. And of course, those cities with its borders, which I guess those two rivers mentioned are some of the borders, Arnon and Jabbok. Yeah, and then of course, it just gets descriptive of just the building of the cities and just the settling in, just naming all of those cities or whatever. Yep. So once the agreement was reached with Reuben and Gad concerning the settlement on the east side of the Jordan, the half-tribe of Manasseh, also rich with flocks, joined in seeking land in that territory. However, verses 39 through 42 indicate that Manasseh conquered cities not yet taken and settled in the northern area of Gilead. Yeah. Yeah, 39 through 42 with the half tribe of Manasseh. Yep. So they're disposing of some of the Amorites who were there that weren't conquered yet. Yep. And then verse 41, you got this guy, Jair, the son of Manasseh, went and took the small towns and called them, Havoth Jair. And then this other guy, Nobah, he took this town, Kenoth, and its villages, and called that Noboth after his own name. So just clearing out some of the people that were still there, and then of course settled in. Yep. So there you go. And I think here in verse 41, you have a mention of a guy named Jair here. Yeah, this guy Jair. And he takes some small towns and calls them Havoth Jair. And I think there's another reference to this elsewhere in Scripture, in the book of Judges. Because I know there's a judge in Judges 10 named Jair. He's a minor judge. He doesn't have a whole lot of detail. I'll go ahead and read that in Judges 10. So you have the minor judge called Tola, and then after him you have a judge named Jair, a Gileadite, and he judged Israel for 22 years. He had 30 sons who rode on 30 donkeys, and also had 30 towns, which are called Havoth Jair to this day, which are in the land of Gilead, and Jair died and was buried in Cheman. And most likely, this guy Jair reigned as a judge. Well, of course, a judge was a deliverer. Yeah, but basically, he probably judged during the time of Ruth. Okay. Well, there you go. And then after Jair, basically you get oppression again because of Israel's sin. You got the Ammonites, and then God will raise up the judge Jephthah to deal with the Ammonites. And you get to all of that in Judges 11. And then eventually you get to Samson, and so on and so forth. Alright. Okay. But I wanted to throw that in there, since I think that mention of him in Numbers 32 is the same as what you got there in Numbers 10. Alright. But there you go. So are those eastern tribes going to help the other tribes out during the conquest? Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah. Alright, well, Lord willing, I'll see, I guess, what Prager will have to say about it another time. But until then, may God bless you, and the grace and mercy won by Jesus, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all.